What if I told you that there's one simple belief about yourself, just one idea, that has the power to completely shape the way you live your life? It can decide whether you achieve the things you care about and really become the person you want to be. Okay, let's dive into this huge idea from Carol Dweck's amazing book, Mindset. So, let's try a quick thought experiment. Just imagine this happens. You totally bomb a test you really studied for. And be honest with yourself here. What's that first immediate gut reaction that pops into your head? Just hold on to that thought for a second. So, did your reaction look more like path A or path B? Path A, well, that's a downward spiral, right? It takes one single event, failing a test, and blows it up into an identity. I am a failure. And the natural response is to just hide and give up. But path B, it sees the exact same event as just a piece of information, not a final verdict. The response there is to lean in, to figure out what happened, and to think about how to do better next time. These two paths come from two totally different ways of seeing yourself. And what's so fascinating is that both of those reactions, A and B, they actually spring from a single belief that's kind of hiding under the surface. This belief is what Carol Dweck calls your mindset. And here's the most important part of this whole thing. Your mindset isn't permanent. It's something you can choose. So what are these two different worldviews? Well, Dweck gives them names, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Let's break down exactly what each one means and how it can literally shape your reality. In the world of the fixed mindset, things like your intelligence or your talent are, well, fixed. They're carved in stone. You have a certain amount of it, and that's pretty much it. So your life becomes this constant, really stressful audition to prove you're good enough. Every single situation, a test, a project, even a conversation, it feels like a judgment. Are you smart or dumb? Are you a winner or a loser? The growth mindset, on the other hand, is built on a totally different idea, that your basic abilities are things you can grow through effort. I mean, sure, people start with different talents and skills, but the point is that everyone can change and get better through practice and experience. Your real potential is a complete unknown, because who knows what you could accomplish with years of passion and hard work. This quote from Benjamin Barber just nails the difference, doesn't it? The world isn't really split between the talented and the untalented. It's split between people who are learning and people who aren't. Are you focused on proving what you've got, or are you focused on growing what you've got? That right there is the fundamental choice. Okay, so these ideas sound pretty interesting, but how do they actually play out in real life? Let's take a look at how these mindsets show up in our everyday thoughts and actions. Now, this is where it gets really clear. For someone in a fixed mindset, challenges are just scary. What if you try and you fail? It would just expose that you're not good enough, so you just avoid them. Effort is seen as a bad sign. If you are a real natural, you wouldn't even need to try so hard. Failure is absolutely devastating because it's not something you did, it's something you are. And criticism, it feels like a personal attack. But for the growth mindset, it's all flipped on its head. Challenges are exciting opportunities to grow. Effort is the one and only way you master anything. Failure is a lesson, not a life sentence, and criticism is just useful information. To really get the deep emotional stakes here, Dweck tells the story about a violin prodigy. This was a young woman who was always told she was a genius. But as she got older, the fear of not living up to that label just became totally consuming. I mean, listen to that quote. That reveals the absolute core terror of the fixed mindset. The fear of giving it your all and leaving yourself with no excuses. If you try your absolute hardest and you still don't succeed, the fixed mindset has only one explanation: you just don't have what it takes. And this fear became so paralyzing that she actually stopped bringing her violin to her lessons because she was terrified to even try. Okay, that might sound a little bleak, but this is where the really good news comes in. The growth mindset isn't just a nice idea, it's actually backed up by science. Let's look at why it's not only possible to change, but it's actually how we're built. Here's the crucial point. Your brain is incredibly flexible. It is not a static thing. Every single time you learn something new, you are literally building new connections between your brain cells. And this isn't even a new idea. The inventor of the IQ test, Alfred Binet, he didn't create it to measure some fixed thing. He designed it to find kids who needed extra help in school so they could get back on track. He believed education could fundamentally change your intelligence. So here's a really powerful and simple way to think about it all. Your brain is like a muscle. When you push yourself, when you really struggle with something difficult and you stick with it, you are literally making that muscle stronger. The challenge itself is what creates the growth. So, how do we actually start? How can you actively start building a growth mindset in your own life? Let's walk through the actual steps you can take starting right now. It all starts by consciously choosing a different way. You start looking for challenges instead of running from them. When you hit a roadblock, you recognize that it's just part of the process, and you keep going. You reframe effort, not as a sign of weakness, but as the only way to get great at something. And when someone gives you feedback, you listen for what's useful, instead of just feeling attacked. Those 4 steps are the foundation, but there's one more simple, almost magical little tool. This is the power of yet. Just think about the difference for a second. I'm not good at this. That's a statement. It's a closed door, a final judgment. But I'm not good at this yet. Well, that implies a future. It implies a journey. It turns a moment of failure into just a point on a learning curve. Adding that one tiny word can reframe your entire experience of a struggle. The tennis legend Billie Jean King said, "It's all about what story you want to tell about your life." Is it going to be a story of potential you never used? That sad story of I could have been? Or is it going to be a story of giving everything you had for the things that really mattered to you, no matter what the outcome was? The mindset you choose is what writes that story. So in the end, it all comes down to a choice. These mindsets are just beliefs. And yeah, they're powerful, but they're still just something in your mind. And you can always change your mind. So the final question I have for you is simple. Which path are you going to choose?